Hi, welcome to Exploring Opportunities in Freight Forwarding. My name is Tom Reister and I'm from DSV. And today we're going to be talking about our important role in making things happen. Now, probably all of you are accessing this recording because you are working with or interested in working with Cal State Long Beach, and perhaps were referred to this opportunity in this program called Exploring Opportunities within Freight Forwarding. Today's session is actually a re-recording of the live event that we held several weeks ago on October 26th. And it's not only to introduce you to what we do in this exciting field of freight forwarding, but also to talk to you about a great opportunity that DSV has right now with our internship program. Now, we're going to go into more of this again at the end, but the whole idea of this program is that if you get accepted, you will become a intern/trainee with DSV for 2 years. And in that 2 years, you'll get not only real working experience in freight forwarding, but also you will be enrolled in the Global Logistics Professional Program at Cal State Long Beach, which is very, very exciting, and will give you that excellent education that you'll need to really excel within our industry. So we'll talk more about the internship again at the end and the exciting opportunities that are available at DSV in freight forwarding. So today we are going to be discussing the critical role of the freight forwarder. We'll then talk about how it's much more than moving freight. We will go into the mechanics of moving freight because you do see things all over the world, air freight, ocean freight, truck freight, and all that, and may not realize that there's a lot of complexities in there. And then finally, we'll end on discussing what it's like to work for DSV and again, coming back to the internship. So for a lot of you, you may be asking, what is a freight forwarder? Okay, it's maybe a completely brand new term for you, or if you've heard of it, you may have no familiarity. But I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with travel, and many of you are currently in high school and getting ready to graduate, or you've already graduated and are either in college or looking for your next move, but maybe are still interested in going on a trip like this girl who perhaps is going for the first time to Europe. So if you don't know what a freight forwarder does, you probably or hopefully would be familiar with what a travel agent does. Okay. And a travel agent and what a travel agent does for you in helping your planning in planning your trip really is very similar in a lot of ways to what we do to ensure that we work with our customers to make sure that their cargo, their freight gets to its destination as planned. So if you were heading over to Europe for the first time, like this girl, you might be thinking about what your itinerary is, what countries you should see, what locations within those countries. Are there any tours that are really essential to see the area? Where should you stay in terms of hotels? Do you need to arrange for, airplane tickets? What about the Euro and even things, for example, like with COVID right now, what are the regulations, in terms of moving, from country to country, and possibly should you get insurance? Well, the good news is that working with an experienced travel agent, they can help you to not only navigate all these different things, but really plan the right trip for you that fits your budget and your time constraints and all that. In the same way, DSV works with its many, many customers to really understand their needs and really help them to weigh what the best options are that fit within their time constraints, their budget, and within obviously the regulations and everything else to really make it happen. And we'll explore that much deeply. So what you see out on the water, in the air, on our roads, or even in our buildings really is just a small, small part of everything that's logistics. So these are the visual aspects that you see of the cargo or the freight moving around the world. But the freight forwarder has a lot of other things that they have to consider in order to make that happen. So let's now talk about what we do as a freight forwarder. And as a freight forwarder, you are the critical link that connects the physical move of the cargo that we just described with all of the essential financial, regulatory, and information necessary to make it a success. Now, I'm guessing that all of you right now are probably sitting back going, okay, was interested in the internship, was interested in getting also some education at Cal State Long Beach, but that just totally blew me away. And maybe you don't want to go any further, but please wait. It is a lot more exciting than that.
That's all well and good, but what was just described sounds a little boring. I wonder if they'll realize I'm shopping during their presentation.
Yeah, and hopefully all of you are paying attention. So again, we completely understand, but hopefully you will not find this to be very, very boring. And to get you more interested, why don't we talk a little bit more about why we see ourselves as the critical link that connects and makes things happen in the form of this short video.
Business comes in all sizes. Customers may be just around the corner from your company or halfway around the globe in faraway markets. From single standard shipments to large volume transports, complex logistics and supply chain solutions, DSV is but a click or a call away. In more than 80 countries around the world, on land, by air or by sea, we protect your shipment and support your need for speed. Even heavy cargo is easy to handle with our online services, and our experts are used to addressing the elephant in the room. So if you think big, you should think DSV. We offer a competent partnership that gets things moving. For small startup businesses, for large corporations, for anyone with towering ambitions. You need it, we move it.
Okay, well, hopefully that gave you a nice introduction and just some of the many things that happens and the exciting world of logistics and freight forwarding. So let's go a little bit deeper now and talk about how what we do is much more than moving freight. And one of the things I want to go back to is that when you're considering this internship with DSV and also the education that comes along with it, think also not only about the initial internship, but really the unlimited opportunities that are available within our company. I can't say this enough that we are a global company that has many, many different roles. And if you were interested and decided to grow with us, you could be in a lot of different positions in a lot of different places to really add a lot of value to the supply chain. So let's talk more about what we do and how it's much more than moving freight. Now, probably all of you are not that familiar with the terms or what's involved with supply chain and logistics. Okay, a lot of that is taught in college courses and also you learn on the job. But even if you're not necessarily familiar with that, I think we all are familiar with just what happens in regular businesses. So imagine that any of you had a business where you were importing some kind of amazing products that you decided to bring in the country from China, for example, and you were ultimately trying to give them to your customers, then you probably can put yourself in the position of these basic needs. And the good news is it doesn't matter how small or large a business is that is working with us. They all have we call supply chain attributes that are very similar. And there's really 5 of them, but the importance of these really depends on the client and the type of their business. So when we look at the 5 supply chain attributes, the first one is reliability. And to describe reliability, it's really around the perfect order. So the whole idea is getting the right product to the right customer at the right time and undamaged. Okay, pretty simple concept. Responsiveness is all about order fulfillment cycle time. It's focusing on how quickly and effectively a company can deliver goods to its customers. So imagine again that you've brought goods into the country from China for your business, and now you're holding those goods somewhere and customers are placing orders. Responsiveness is how quickly you can take those orders in, process their order and get them the goods that they're ordering from you. Agility. Agility is flexibility, adaptability. It's also meaning dealing with risk. Risk could be everything from, natural disasters, dealing with, capacity issues, etc. And here we're focusing on our ability to adjust operational processes to react to changing market needs. So right now, for example, we know that there is major congestion as the world is coming further out of the COVID situation. And if any of you have been in Long Beach, you're probably seeing many container ships that are out on the water right now that are currently waiting to be unloaded. Agility is really being able to adapt and make changes as you see needed. It would be no different, for example, when that hurricane came in and hit the East Coast up in the New Jersey area, making changes to get much needed goods to the right spot. Cost is always important, and it's really a measurement on the total cost that's involved. Now, some companies, that is their main strategy. If you think about Walmart or Sam's Club, which belongs to the same company, they're always talking about the lowest priced items. And for them, having the lowest cost supply chain would be very important. And also with that is asset management. Assets cost a lot of money. Owning trucks, owning your own warehouse, or even if you're renting a warehouse off of somebody, you probably want to make the most out of your space. So asset management is about how do we get the most out of these spaces or these trucks or whatever. And it's really focusing on utilization. Okay. So when you think about all these, again, the physical move of the cargo obviously has a great impact on this, and again, customers have different needs in terms of these 5. But what you probably are not aware of that we spoke about briefly is there's also some other elements, the financial aspects of moving the cargo from its origin to its destination. What about the regulatory piece? International shipments as well as domestic shipments have a lot of laws and regulations and all types of things that need to be followed. And then finally, the information piece, which really ties it all together. It's the exchange of information even before the shipment has been moved all the way until the end. So let's talk a little bit more about each of these. So managing the financial transactions is an essential part of the freight forwarder's role. And again, this is a very short presentation. We're not going to go in depth into all this, but there's some things that probably you might be familiar with, okay? There's what's called a commercial invoice. And essentially, that's just what we do and what a client does in actually purchasing the goods, okay? Also, Incoterms. These are things that internationally have been arranged to decide who pays for what part of the shipments, what risk is being taken. Payment terms and credit. Payment terms are really, when do I have to pay the bill? Credit is, we're all familiar with credit cards. It works the same exact way, which is I don't have to necessarily use my own cash. I might have credit. Duties, taxes, and fees. These are things that often we have to pay to the governments of the world, etc., when moving cargo. Dealing with currency. Many shipments move around the world across many different currencies, across many countries, and much more. Also, carefully helping our clients to navigate and comply with regulatory requirements is incredibly important. So there's what's called international law, which is laws that everybody agrees to internationally. But we also know that each country has local laws. And even if you look at the United States, even states have different laws, etc. So navigating those. Quotas and trade agreements. Quotas really regulate how much of certain items can be brought in. And trade agreements, the same way, work on, the process of, is it free? Do we charge taxes? Do we charge anything else? Classification and reporting really is a way that governments use to say this is exactly what this is. I am importing a remote control. I'm bringing in oranges, and proper classification and reporting is what allows governments to assess the right taxes, the right tariffs. Duties, taxes, and fees, which we already discussed. And of course, security. Security is always a major issue. It's not just the security of the cargo, making sure that it doesn't get damaged, it doesn't get stolen, but also it's preventing things that should not be crossing our borders from coming into our country illegally, and much, much more. And then finally, the information we provide and the quality and timeliness of that information that we provide supports everything else that we just discussed. So it's the ability to track and trace where your shipment is, when it's going to arrive, the purchase order visibility, knowing that am I getting my complete order on this shipment, or am I only getting part of that order on this shipment and the rest of it's coming in on another shipment. Things like EDI, electronic data exchange, which allows us to talk solely through data with customers and link with them so that we can share information. Reports and analytics like graphs and charts allow us to analyze how efficient, how effective, whether things are behind. Data quality and timeliness. If the data is not in the system, then you can't use it. But what's in the system, is it correct? You know, we show that the goods are supposed to arrive by tomorrow, but we didn't put in the right data. It's actually coming in on the following week, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of this is really there to help make better decisions. The whole purpose of the data is really at the end for our customers to make the right decisions, and much, much more. So let's work to help you to understand these things more. And again, this is not a supply chain course, okay? But if you put yourself into the position of businesses, we all go to stores, we all work with different people. Our parents might work at different companies. Then perhaps you can see how these things come together, not only the 5 supply chain attributes, but also beyond the physical move, the financial, the regulatory, and the information. Like this situation where we all know that if we go to retail stores right now, certain items are very short, if not completely gone, because of capacity constraints.
Everyone knows there are currently many supply issues. However, I feel our customers would be less frustrated if we had a way to let them know when we expect items in. This might also help us better utilize our shelf space for items we do have in stock.
Right. So this situation here, think about the people that are working and managing in this store and how frustrating it must be that they have clients that are always coming in asking, you know, when is this going to be available? You know, how come there's no stock? And it's not only that, but the risk of these people going to their competitors, to other stores. But additionally, think about the last comment, which is around space utilization and really being able to react and make the best of what you have. DSV and if you came in as a freight forwarder, play a very important role here in not only helping our customers to understand this, but really to make the best decisions. What about manufacturing? Okay, there is a tremendous amount of manufacturing that is in the greater Los Angeles and Orange County areas. And manufacturers have a lot of difficult things that they have to do to make sure that they plan the execution of their production.
I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for me, but I will say I have one of the most difficult jobs out there as a planner. For example, making sure the factory doesn't shut down from lack of stock, not holding more inventory than we absolutely need, and staying on top of production changes.
Right. So imagine this poor situation where she has got to not only make sure there's enough stock that the manufacturing plant can make what it's supposed to make, but she can't hold too much, because they'll run out of space, but also because it wastes money. And she also needs to stay on top of the many changes that occur. Again, DSV and working as a freight forwarder, you can help these types of companies to better plan the movement of their cargo, the stocking of inventory, and how they manage their business.
Look, I'm glad we have plenty of stock. This makes us very responsive. But I keep telling purchasing that we also have too much. We have items where we have over a year's worth of inventory. This is not only wasting money, but I'm also running out of space. And often, this means storing excess in aisles, which makes us very inefficient.
Right. So many of you probably are aware that there are thousands of warehouses around the greater Los Angeles and Orange County areas. And believe it or not, the area out near Ontario, which is called the Inland Empire, is actually the largest warehousing area in the country, and thereby one of the largest areas in the world. So the point being is that, you know, we have these warehouses there to efficiently store the cargo so that we can send it out to customers. But like this lady says, is that it's always a careful balance between making sure that you have the goods in to support orders, but not having too much, because A, you run out of space, you also waste money, and even worse is when you have way too much inventory, it starts to congest your operations and make you inefficient. So again, as a freight forwarder, as a company like DSV, you can help customers to better plan their inventory, to better manage the space they have, to coordinate with their customers, to coordinate with their suppliers. And then there are also probably a lot of you that are budding entrepreneurs. Maybe you are thinking one day that you will have your own business. Maybe you're an early starter and you already have your own business in high school, which would be incredible. But entrepreneurs often have a dream. They know what type of business they want to start up. They have a dream about the products and services they want to provide. But the logistics piece of that and actually coordinate that is something that they know a lot less of and really don't focus necessarily on because it's not part of their core competency, like this CEO.
As the CEO of Groovy Bluetooth, I couldn't be happier. Our high-end speakers have seen amazing growth over the past 2 years since we started. Our biggest problem isn't growth, it's how to manage our growth. We have very demanding customers, like the big retail chains, plus Amazon and Alibaba. And managing both our supplier base in China and Vietnam, plus working to supply North America, Europe, and now parts of Asia, it's going to be an exciting year.
Right. So put yourself in this lady's situation. You're super excited about the company you've started, this great Bluetooth company. Sales are going through the roof, but how do you cope with growth? How do you make sure that you continue to supply your key customers? How do you deal with these very complex international markets? Again, as a freight forwarder and DSV, you can step in to really help customers like that travel agent we discussed to really make the best decisions for their supply chain and hopefully to manage the growth of their business in the best way. So those are just some hints of things that we get involved in, and hopefully your interest level is increasing as you listen to this. Let's talk more about the mechanics of moving freight, because it is something where perhaps we don't understand how there's a lot that goes into getting stuff from point A to point B. And the key thing here is that we know that we play such an critical role, but it's often not seen. And one of the things is that a lot of you now probably are so used to ordering online, whether it's on Amazon or some clothing retailer or Best Buy or whoever you use. And the challenge is that with e-commerce, things are so much easier today than they were even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Okay. I mean, you literally can go on Amazon, see something you want. It tells you it will be there tomorrow. It will be there in 3 days. You order it, and sure enough, it arrives at your door. Okay. And like this lady who ordered her Hawaiian shirts because she wants to go to Hawaii, knows that she's going to get them on Tuesday, and she's excited. But I just want to say that things, obviously, in order to make this happen, in order to make it a point and click away, a lot of other things had to happen in order to make it easy for Amazon or easy for these other retailers to get you those goods in such a quick point of time after you've made that order. So global logistics, which is what we're in, okay, and we also are in U.S. and domestic logistics, but what I mean is the entire world of freight forwarding and logistics is very difficult, and there's a lot of things like this turbulent sea that make it an ever-changing and difficult environment to navigate. For one, is most companies these days are very complex, and they have a lot of people making decisions. So trying to get people within a customer to align who are in the logistics department of that customer with the people that are in sales or marketing or manufacturing is very difficult, and getting them all to think about the best way of doing things. Additionally, there's a tremendous amount of risk for customers. I mean, think about the situation right now where literally there's a capacity constraint. People have ordered and spent a lot of money on the manufacture of their goods over in Asia, but they're not able to bring them in as fast as they would like to because of the capacity issues. But also, cargo can be damaged in the course of transit, and all kinds of other things that can disrupt your business. Logistics costs can be significant. So, it's a big deal to move something around the world, and those costs can be a significant part. And for customers, it's difficult because you need to make sure at the end of the day, between what you plan to manufacture the goods plus what you spend to ship it there and what you ultimately end up selling to the client, to their clients, makes you money. Also, people in our customer base are a lot more informed. Okay, they have a lot more information today about logistics and supply chain than they did 20 years ago. But as we talked about before, there are constant changes in regulations and tariffs, in other types of things that make it very difficult. And last but not least is that the smart customers really look for longer term relationships with companies like ours. And the reason is because of the complexity that we mentioned. Longer term relationships and partnerships allow us to help them to navigate. And these things don't just come one at a time. We face these things all the time, a lot of them together at the same time. So to bring this to life, we all are very familiar with cars. Some of you that are viewing this probably have a car. And you know that, for example, in the United States, we manufacture a lot of cars, but there's also a lot of international car companies as well. DSV works with a tremendous amount of automotive manufacturers and also the supplier base. And it is a very, very difficult market with the thousands and thousands of parts and everything else. I'll let this video speak more to some of the things that we do within this industry.
The modern-day automotive industry is one of staggering complexity. Billions of parts produced all over the globe must find their way to production facilities in various countries, just in time, in the right sequence, and with complete reliability. For most automotive manufacturers, the mind-boggling logistics involved in getting all the right parts on time to the right place on the production line represent a headache they can do without. After all, their business is building and marketing cars. That's why an increasing number of globally renowned car manufacturers rely on the comprehensive logistics services, solutions, and global network of DSV. Our proposition is as simple to state as it is hard to make happen. We make sure every single item you need is where it should be, exactly when it needs to be, in the right sequence, undamaged, with the right on-time information, and even partly assembled if necessary.
Okay, so you can see that there's a lot that we do, and trust me, there's a lot more than even this, but for the length of time that we're talking today, we're not going to have the video anymore. Now, one of the things I just want to say is that I'm showing you today a lot of images of people at the ports, at the airports, working with cargo containers. You saw in the video people with forklifts and stuff. And I just want to be clear, this internship is not about driving a forklift or working in our warehouse, okay? We show these because within what we do, we have so many different opportunities for different roles and positions and different areas of our business. But the internship would start you out in our office learning the basics of freight forwarding as an intern and also going to the university. So please don't think that this is about looking for a job where you're going to be driving a forklift. If that's something you wanted to do down the road or whatever, that's great. This internship is about working within our RNC offices to become a freight forwarder, to do a lot of that coordinating, again, like the travel agent analogy that we had before. Now, what you just saw and what you heard about the automotive industry, again, may seem very confusing to you. But understanding cargo containers and pallets is really not any more difficult than planning what is in your suitcase when you're heading off to the airport on that much needed vacation, okay? So when you're going on that vacation, you might think, you know what, I'm not going to be one of those crazy people that brings 16 giant filled suitcases. I'm just going to take with me my carry-on and my iPad, and I will try to squeeze as much as possible into that carry-on so that I don't have to check any luggage. Well, guess what? It's the same exact thing when looking at cargo containers and trucks and stuff, okay? You know that suitcase carry-on has a max size and weight. If it's too heavy, they won't let you put it onto the plane unless you check it. And the max size, that's clear. If it's too much, you're not gonna be able to zipper it, okay? Packing it, you have to pack it in a way that things are gonna be able to not get damaged, that you can pack things in a way that you can get to them easily if you need it while you're on board. Also, only certain items are allowed on board. Other items, for example, liquids or different things, like if you had a pocket knife or whatever, you can't have that in your passenger cabin. That's got to go below in the checked luggage. It has to be easy to handle. If the bag is very wobbly, unbalanced, walking through the airport, it's probably going to be very, very annoying for you. Again, you want to make sure that any fragile items don't break or anything like that. The point is that all of these considerations are the same types of considerations that we take and that you would think about when we are planning what to put on that air freight container or pallet or the ocean freight container or a truck. So let's start with ocean containers because we see so many of them. And again, for those of you that are located near Long Beach, you see those giant container ships that are out there, okay? Ocean containers come in many varieties. They're also constructed with standard specs or specifications that make them to be able to be transported by many carriers. So this ship, for example, could have 3,000 of these containers. And in order to allow the efficient loading, these containers all have to have standard sizes, have to have weight restrictions and all kinds of stuff so that they can be loaded, unloaded as efficiently as possible and done so in a way that's not dangerous to the crew or to other people near the ship. So these standards are not just standard design things with the container, it's also labeling and all that so that worldwide ports and companies know how to handle it, okay? There are things like an identification system. This is not only to identify the container so that you can match it with your order, this is also so the vessels know what containers they have, for the information systems, and even for security reasons. Also, the size and weight specs. We just talked about there's a size and weight spec for your suitcase. The same exact thing depending on the type of ocean container. Notice that there's different things built into the container to allow forklifts and rail to easily, and trucks to easily work with that container. And then there's even things like warnings, for example, that are there to let you know if there's something that you should be aware of. Now, there are many, many different types of containers, but probably the most common ones that you run into, that you see out on the road, you see down into the port, are your 20 and 40-foot dry containers. These are the standard containers. It's a lot of what you just saw on that ship that move most of the cargo. There's also what we call high cube containers. And all a high cube container is it's a little bit taller, so it allows more volume. So as long as the freight doesn't exceed the max weight, it allows you to put a little bit more volume into that container. There's also specialized containers. These ones here are called flat racks or platform containers, and they're there to handle very large or very weird shaped types of cargo that won't necessarily fit neatly into a box. Like you could see the ship in the background that has giant propellers from a windmill for wind energy. Now, the thing is that you may believe that there must be many, many options to move ocean freight around the world. And guess what? Unfortunately, there isn't. The ocean carriers have aligned in alliances, just no different than when you fly on your passenger jet and you have frequent flyer miles and your flight company or your airline company tells you that they are part of the One World Alliance or whatever. They have also formed alliances. So understand that there are three major alliances, And what that means is that when you book with a carrier in one of these alliances, you're really having access to their global network for any other carriers that are in that alliance. That's the benefit. The downside is that it also limits really the choices that you have, and it makes it a little bit more difficult because you don't have thousands of options. You really have just select options for moving freight worldwide. Now, on the air side, again, it's really not much different. Okay, the difference is what they're called and the variety. Okay, so air freight containers and pallets are called unit load devices, or what we say are ULDs for short, but they work in the same way as ocean freight containers. Okay, so first of all, let's start by talking about that loading and unloading an airplane is a lot more complex than you would imagine. Okay, so the airplane has a lot tighter spaces to fit in and a lot more unique shaped spaces than just putting an ocean container onto a vessel. And we need to be very careful on how we load that. You can see these guys here, and the nose of this airplane is completely opened up, and they're involved in loading those pallets. Okay. Now, there's a large variety, much larger variety of air freight containers and pallets than there are ocean. And the reason is because there are so many varieties of cargo airplanes, shapes and sizes, and also on passenger airplanes and cargo airplanes, different positions in those planes of where the cargo can go. So in order to accommodate those various sizes and shapes of airplanes, as well as the different positions, there's got to be a lot of different sizes and shapes of pallets and containers. There's an air freight pallet, for example, that you can see is all shrink wrapped and covered with a net to make sure that the cargo stays in place while on that pallet. You could see here, okay, that there's a lot of technology that's there to help unload and load the aircraft as quick as possible, okay? And again, it's also there to get to those unique spaces and make sure that we can do it so in a way that's safe for the aircraft so that it's balanced properly, not only to take off, but also to land properly. Even within the aircraft, you will see that there are handling things. Notice there are tracks on the inside of this aircraft, and notice the guy that's walking down them, how he's got to work to make sure that airplane is properly loaded, not only for the cargo, but in a way that is safe for the people that are flying on that. And a lot of planning is necessary in advance. Finally, is those pallets or those containers that go on there also have to be loaded individually properly. You can see a DSV professional here that is trying to place the cargo in the right way within this container, okay? And a lot of times containers or pallets are not just one customer's cargo. It's called a consolidation because it has a lot of different customers there, and the proper loading and unloading of this can take a lot of time, but also has to be done again in a way that protects the cargo, but is also safe for the aircraft. Last is of course the roadside is very, very similar, okay? But it's not just moving things on the road, kind of the last mile to get to where it's going. We also need to be thinking that it's also necessary to expedite things. Think about things that get delayed in the ocean shipment or the air freight shipment. And we do a lot of expediting, okay, with trucks and all that, in addition to normal moves and even moving it by rail. But we also are using the latest technology, okay? And that includes working now with drones, as I'll show you in this video. Well, hopefully we have maintained your interest level, and by now you are very, very excited about the internship and really want to know more about DSV. So we're going to end by discussing what it's like to work for DSV. And one of the things, again, you may not be that familiar with us, but we are one of the top companies in this space. We're global, 75,000 people in more than 90 countries. And pretty much everything that you can imagine in moving the cargo and really supporting that cargo, we do. We have our Air and Sea division, which is really about the international and domestic air freight and ocean freight. We have our road division, and it's also including courier services and stuff. Our solutions division is about the large scale warehousing that you see. And then finally, we even have a lead logistics division that is really there to integrate and optimize things across the various divisions. Now, with that, we are constantly a company that is growing and making acquisitions, and we've just announced yet another acquisition we call Agility. And this is a picture of our CEO, Jens Bjorn Andersen, speaking about the Agility acquisition. And he says it simply is an excellent match. We will now start the integration, and together we are going to grow our business and bring even more value to our many customers, partners, and shareholders. So that's exactly it, is when DSV makes a choice to buy other companies, it really is to offer more value to our customers. It's to allow us to increase our services and also capabilities, and ultimately to improve the financial and overall operational performance of the company. There's so many different wonderful reasons for that. And that also gives us a lot of things like expanding into new markets that we haven't been into or increasing our strength. So a tremendous amount from that. And this is a view of our overall industry. And you can see that with the Agility acquisition, we are now at that third position down. That's an orange stripe, which is we are the third largest company within our space. And overall, that makes our air freight and sea freight and road freight third in our industry as well, and increases our solutions now, which is our warehousing, to 10th. Now, I just want to say that this is not like a sports team where, you're sitting there going, our football team is number one and all that. No, just because we are number 3 in size doesn't mean that we are not the best company. Okay, this is just purely on size of company, but there's a lot of other factors in terms of the value we provide to customers, financial performance, and all that. And I will tell you that we firmly believe that we have the best company out there. So with that, one of the things is that DSV, and this is our CEO again, Jens Bjorn Andersen, is very, very committed to continuously improving ourselves and acting as one company. We share one goal: to serve our customers in the best possible way while running a profitable business. Okay. And what that means is that everything we do evolves around serving our customers even more and more and offering more and more value, but also managing the best business we have possible. And what that means is that customers come first, delivering great experiences and high quality services. Customers really want to work with a company that they enjoy working with and also get the service they expect. We really work on our performance. We are very driven by results and our profit. And true collaboration means that we have to work very closely together with all our DSV colleagues worldwide, and that we all take ownership and show initiative. We believe we're very entrepreneurial. So at One DSV, again, we work together as a global company, and we have one goal: to serve our customers the best possible way while running a profitable business. Now let's listen to Jens Bjorn Andersen, our CEO, talk about why he believes DSV is the best company.
I think DSV is the best company to work for because we have some very strong characteristics. Our company was founded 40 years ago by 10 truck drivers. We can still learn something from the thoughts that these founders had. Have a flat organization, don't make things too complex, and really trust your employees. I think that is one of the characteristics that I really like, and I think that has helped us to be a success in the industry as we are today. To summarize the DSV DNA, I would say we are entrepreneurial in the way we work. We are empowered very much. And then last but not least, we aim for both operational, but also, of course, for financial excellence.
Okay, so now that you've heard from Jens Bjorn and you've heard a lot from me, I'm sure you are ready to be done with this video. I just want to come back to one last thing again, which is the internship. Really great opportunities to intern with us are available right now. And that internship, again, is a 2-year program where you'll be working not only within our RNC offices and really being inducted into the functions of freight forwarding and logistics with a very structured plan, but also you will be enrolled in the Global Logistics Professional program at Cal State Long Beach, which we will pay for. So again, a tremendous amount of experience and also education will come with this. We think it's very, very exciting. As I mentioned before, there are so many other opportunities beyond our internship to move into within our company, not only here, but worldwide if you're interested. And the other thing is that down the road, if you were ever interested in working at a customer or something like that, logistics is something that every company that moves cargo needs, and it will give you very, very valuable experience with that. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed this video. We hope you are excited about applying to our internship. And again, the information on how to apply is with this video. So please put a lot of thought into it, but don't wait too long, because once we fill those positions, then you might have to wait until we reopen up the next internship program. So I would say is think hard about this. It's a really great opportunity, but don't think too long, because other colleagues of yours may end up applying and getting the internship before you. So thank you. That is the end of our program today. And again, looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you work together with us here at DSV. Thank you for your time.